I cannot be silent.
Back when Eisenhower was the president, golf courses is where most of his time was spent. So I never really listened to what the president said, because in general I believed that the general was politically dead. But he always seemed to know when the muscles were about to be flexed, because I remember him saying something, mumbling something about a military-industrial complex.
As I have walked among the desperate, rejected, and angry young men, I have told them that Molotov cocktails and rifles would not solve their problems. I have tried to offer them my deepest compassion while maintaining my conviction that social change comes most meaningfully through nonviolent action. But they ask, and rightly so, what about Vietnam? They ask if our home nation wasn't using massive doses of violence to solve its problem, to bring about the changes it wanted. Their questions hit home, and I knew that I could never again raise my voice against the violence of the oppressed in the ghettos without having first spoken clearly to the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, my own government. For the sake of those boys, for the sake of this government, for the sake of the hundreds of thousands trembling under our violence, I cannot be silent.
Each one reach one, each one time.
I cannot be silent.
Nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. Everyone must play a part. Everyone's got to go to work. Work for peace. Spirit say work.
I cannot be silent.
Empowering the body, mind, and spirit. This is We Cannot Be Silent with Phil Restino and Larry Pinkney.
My name is Phil Restino. I'm one of the co-hosts of the show. I co-host the show with Larry Pinkney, and Larry and I have been doing this show for a year now. Larry, our first broadcast was Martin Luther King's birthday of January 15, 2012. And, you know, here we are in January again. We've got Dave Corso of wolfspiritradio.com producing the show for us, and we've got a special guest. Well, I'd like to introduce you, Larry, and remember there's listeners tonight that may be hearing us for the first time, so I figured we'll let you introduce yourself and then tell us about our special guest tonight.
All right, first of all, I want to thank Dave Corso, great technician, taking care of business, actually a great deal more than a technician, for all the work that he has done and is doing, making this show and other shows possible. So thanks so much, Dave. As far as who I am, I'm Larry Pinkney. I'm co-host of We Cannot Be Silent. My background, I'll be very, very succinct. My background is that I'm a veteran of the Black Panther Party. I'm the only quote-unquote American to have successfully self-authored my case to the United Nations under Civil and Political Rights International Agreement. I am the former co-chair of the San Francisco Black Caucus. I am currently, and have been for some years, the editorial board member and national columnist with the Black Commentator, www.blackcommentator.com, and associate editor with the Intrepid Report, which is intrepidreport.com. That's it in a nutshell for me. That's all we need to know. I continue to fight the struggle. The struggle goes on. It's intensifying. For everyday people, black, white, brown, red, yellow people across the board, we must intensify. We have a wonderful person with us this evening. We're honored to have him as a guest. He's a long time friend and comrade. His name is Eddie Perez. Eddie Perez, and Eddie, among other things, is a veteran of the Brown Berets. The Brown Berets were close allies with the Black Panther Party. But in addition to that, Eddie has worked for many years on behalf of youth, organizing youth, working with young people, still doing that today. I'm not going to take up a lot of time with this. We intend to have lots of fun tonight, and we hope the show is informative and that everyone will participate and enjoy themselves immensely. Eddie, my brother, thank you for being with us this evening.
De nada. My pleasure. My pleasure. I appreciate you asking me, brother comrade.
Well, hey, it's all our pleasure. It's all good. It's all good. Look, Eddie, whatever I left out, please tell our listening audience whatever you feel is important, significant, etc., with respect to your background, and then let's take it wherever you want to take it.
Good idea. Yes.
Well, I think you did a good job. I mean, I think what's important to find is that, like yourself and myself, we're OGs, we're originals from back in the heyday when it all kicked off. Brown Berets, of course, followed the Black Panthers and realized that we needed to, get our flanks tight for the movement and the Chicano movement. And, since then, I've done a lot of different things, most importantly, working with youth and trying to educate them, motivate them, and just get them involved in the movement. And so, viva la causa, viva the cause, and power to the people.
Right on. Well, the beautiful thing about the movement is that, as we say, a lucha continua, the movement continues. And our sisters and brothers, be they black, white, brown, red, or yellow, the struggle continues. In fact, today, in the year 2013, they just coronated this fool by the name of Barack Obama, and this war criminal, this murderer, the never meant a drone missile that he didn't love. So indeed the struggle continues and intensifies for all people of goodwill across the board. Eddie, I have a couple of questions, but let me check in with our co-host, Phil, and see what Phil would like to say and where he wants to take it. Phil, right back at you, bro.
Well, thanks, Larry, and thank you, Eddie, and welcome to the show. Got some good history here between Larry Pinkney and Eddie Perez. As they both mentioned, they were there. They were there back in the day, back in the 60s and 70s, and I'm sure they have a lot to say about Martin Luther King, the struggle, what he was about, what he was preaching, and my question for you guys is, I got the feeling that we failed in picking up where he left off, and I imagine the discussion will get somewhere along that at some point. But right now, Larry, I'd like to just turn it over to you. As far as Dave asked me earlier, he asked us what we thought about the parade and coronation today, and I think we all had a similar answer. I could not watch it on television. I just couldn't, because when you know it's bullshit, it's I just can't do it, and that's liberating here, knowing that this whole thing's a fraud. But in order to free ourselves, we got to get others to get on board and wake up. So I'll shut up there and pass it over to you, Larry, and be curious as to what you and Eddie have to say.
Well, I obviously concur very much with what's already been said. Clearly, what happened today was a spectacle of insanity, and I would urge that our listeners not pay attention to the spectacle of insanity, but rather pay attention to our needs, hopes, aspirations, dreams, etc., what's going on in our communities, and, what goes around comes around. And so as far as that goes, that's where I'm coming from. We got a lot of work to do in our own communities with each other, building bridges with our sisters and brothers of all colors, and making or bringing about real systemic change. That's where I'm coming from. Brother Eddie, what are your comments on that?
Well, have you heard of that show called The Walking Dead? About all these zombies? Hundreds of them, thousands of them. And they're dead, but in some ways they're still kicking, they're alive. Well, a lot of zombies at that inauguration, when I did turn on the TV, all those people are basically walking dead. They do not know what they're doing. This system, this U.S. System of injustice has us all, not me, but he's got many individuals, good people. There was a lot of good people there today. If they were just some way, somehow educated, understood the hypocrisy. Where I saw those people today, turned on that TV, they were like, they're alive, but they're not there. They're there until reality is, and I think that's part of what society has done to our youth, to our elders. They have something like this. It's supposed to make somebody feel good when people aren't eating, when people are in jail for injustice, and when people can't even have a place to sleep. There's homelessness, there's crime, and they're just tuned into what is probably one of the biggest crimes of the year is this presidential inauguration. So I'm totally disgusted with it, and everybody else as well.
Larry, excuse me for butting in, but Eddie mentioned something, and the word television, and I was thinking about trying to speak about the differences between now and then. And I remember, I wasn't born until 1960, so I was a little boy during the 60s. But I remember during that time, my father standing us all up at attention and pointing at the black and white television with rabbit ears that only got 3 channels, and saying to us, see that box? That box is more powerful than an atom bomb, and it's going to be what takes this country down. And this was back in like I said, the 1960s. Now, the 1960s and 70s, when you had the Civil Rights Movement, and you had Malcolm X, and you had Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, and all the rest, and you guys were involved, they didn't have this television. So what did you guys do? What was different that's not happening now?
We was in the streets. We was protesting. We was, we were organizing. We were demanding, rights, equal rights. We were demanding justice. We were out there, with the people from the neighborhoods, and just, excited about it. We knew we were doing the right thing. It was good to watch TV because at least you know that the news will show us out there, going to show other people that they don't have to put up with, this injustice that has gone on for, hundreds of years. And at least for me, we were out there. And you know what? As the saying goes, we would say, and this will not be televised because it was live.
That's right. You just got hearing, folks. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be live. So you're right, Eddie. You too much, my brother. Yeah, and if I may add to that, bro, in those days, and Phil, it's very interesting. Your dad was absolutely correct. And it was not just the television, but he understood clearly that it was media, and that media is all about control and manipulation. So he was absolutely correct. And as difficult as it was, and as repressive as conditions were in the 60s and 70s, in some respects they're far worse today, in the sense that people are so manipulated, or should I say sheeple are so manipulated and so controlled, whether you're watching Fox, CNN, PBS, ABC, CBS, it's all BS, you dig? And, you know, and what we did, Phil, you know, whether it was brothers and sisters with the Brown Beret, or brothers and sisters with Black Panther Party, or brothers and sisters with SDS, or brothers and sisters with the White Panther Party, what we did was we got out, as Brother Eddie just pointed out, we got out into the streets. We were more connected with each other. And one of the things that they have done today, and we've got to take our humanity back, one of the things they've done is they've disconnected people from each other. Even in our own quote-unquote communities, across the board, people are scared of each other. And, you know, they turn on, you know, you turn on one of the 50 million channels that you can get now through cable, which are all basically the same. They put you in a lethargic state, in a state of stupidity, take your choice. And it is designed to do that. So it is designed not only to put people in a stupor and keep them in a stupor, but to disorient people and to keep people divided and fearful, and of course, to keep people ignorant. And that's really ignorant of what's going on around them, ignorant of each other, etc. So those particular battles we also had back in the day, but not as intense as today. I mean, the media today is just gotten to a point where it is totally saturated the mindset of most individuals, who in fact are not individuals anymore. As I said before, they're sheeple. So this is one of the very huge challenges that we have today. I mean, does that make any sense, Phil?
It sure does. I believe we're really up against it, but we have something though to counter it, and I see it in this alternative media, the internet, folks like Dave Corso creating this Wolf Spirit Radio network, wolfspiritradio.com, other people creating alternative radio networks and having shows on, and you know, the answer has always been us. You know, it's not some person that you elect and send to Washington, and and I've been finding out in the activist movement, guys, that you know, I've been in the anti-war movement with Veterans for Peace since 2005, and so it's organized anti-war movement, and to put it all in the hands of the leaders of those organizations is not the way to go either. I believe you know, the answer is with us. We have to be able to think for ourselves and act locally, and you know, and like Martin Luther King said, you know, when you see a wrong and you know it's wrong, you cannot be silent. And I know within the anti-war community, I've been a royal pain in the ass to some of those folks. And, you know, I've been asked a number of times, well, why the heck don't you just quit, you know? And how's that going to help?
No, we can't quit. No, Phil. No, we can't
You got to speak up.
That's right. And you know, just to respond to what, not so much the media. The media is a very big part. But there's also these other pills that people are taking. You know, you go here, you go there, you do this, you do that, and it's all sugar coated. You know, go to SeaWorld, and there's just sort of all these little pills that people take to escape. And back in the 70s and in some ways into the 80s, but today it doesn't exist as it did then. And what it takes away, what we had then was consciousness. It was universal. I mean, it kicked off, here, actually in San Francisco, Oakland area, and it spread. And it spread, and it spread, and it spread. And that consciousness, what happened was many individuals, they got a virus. And, matter of fact, I don't want to give them the benefit of the doubt. They took the pill that they wanted to take, and they copped out. But we got to do, and we're doing it on your show, for all those listeners, you've got to maintain that consciousness. It's so easy. It's so easy to sit down, put on the TV, just escape, read some novel that pertains to nothing. If you're going to read something, read something historical. Read something about Brother Malcolm X, Brother Martin Luther King. But I believe we are slowly again trying to rebuild that consciousness in this country, and I believe other countries, in their own way, are trying to build a consciousness. But that's what it was. It was a black consciousness, brown consciousness. It was a people's consciousness, and that was kept us going. And you know what? We didn't need a flu shot, to keep it. It was there. It was in our hearts. We were getting beaten. We were getting thrown in jail. Families getting killed. On the picket lines, on the protest lines, the marches. That Brother Martin Luther King was so wonderful for putting together. And these people had consciousness, and we've got it, you've got it, Larry's got it, and there's thousands of people listening to your show that have it too. And we've got to keep it. We've got to put that consciousness into the minds of our youth. We've got to plant seeds. You can even plant seeds in an elder, but we're planting those seeds of consciousness, and it's going to spread. And it's, it ain't over till it's over, and it ain't over yet.
I know that. That's right. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. And the beauty is that the we, that is to say, we the people, we have the power if we but knew it, if we but recognized it. And I like your example, my brother Eddie, about using the pill, because that's a very, one can picture that. It's like, yeah, it's a pill you take, and I add to that, it's distraction. Distract, divide, divide, rule, distract, divide, and that's the name of this vicious corporate government's game. That's what it does, because we allow it to do that. And Brother Phil, I also like the fact that you said that we do have some advantages today. And we do. We have the advantage of the internet if we use it, but we also, as you said, we also have the advantage of a very rich history. But see, that's where people, again, the so-called educational institutions, which are, I say so-called because they're not educational institutions, they're brainwashing institutions. But these institutions, their job, their role, is to keep people from knowing their history. That's why people are so divided. They don't understand that in the early 1900s, in the 20s, in the 30s, in the 40s, not just the 50s, 60s, and 70s, but years prior, that people were working together. That's right, working together. Poor, everyday, ordinary people of all colors and both genders were working together. Okay? And it's our task to get that out there, to let people know their history, because their history is our history. We do have the power. We are the ones who need to put that out there. But anyway, let me clamp myself down. Come on down a few ratchets, Brother Larry. Talking to myself. and let me get back to our guest, to our brother Eddie. Eddie, my brother, what are you doing out there right now in California? You're in National City, right, near San Diego, right?
Between about 10 miles from San Diego and 10 miles from the Mexican border.
All right. Well, if you don't mind, and just go wherever you want to go with this, but we were just talking, what we've just been talking about in terms of organizing and reaching out to our youth and reaching out within our various communities. I know you've been busy. That's why I'm putting it out there. I know you've been real busy. Would you give some examples, if you don't mind, comrade brother, of what you've been doing in the past few years in Southern California, in National City?
Well, like you, my brother, I can reference your statement of reach one, teach one, as you so well you put it so well in your pieces that you write for us. That's basically what I'm doing. I'm trying to teach everybody I come in contact with. Most of the people I come in contact with are youth. But I also work for a Native American program, and you got rules and regulations, but anything you can do on the up and up that will have them see that they've got the power, that if they, they've got it, and they just need to realize it. But what I've been doing is working with youth here and primarily in the city of National City, because I realized, back in the day we could be all over, and we needed to be all over. We needed to be at this United Farm Workers, pick, boycotting grapes, boycotting Coors, over here, supporting brothers, when, they'd be shot, by the pig, protesting over here, and we were all over, and it was good. It kept us going. But the way the situation is today, and you and I have talked about this several times, that we need to also try to organize locally, so we're not spread out too thin. And so in my work with youth, having worked in, several community colleges, worked at San Diego State, and what I realize is many of them youth are becoming those zombies I talked about. There are still some out there, they just need to wake up. But it's the youth in the streets. It's the gangbangers. It's the youth that if we don't get to them, they're going to become gangbangers and fall into that trap, that the pill that they're going to force down their throats to end up incarcerated. Because in California, like many other states, they're not getting educated, they're getting incarcerated. But so what I do is I meet with youth, I take them on field trips, everything I say to them, not everything, but I try to plant some seeds. And then what I'm also doing is doing some local organizing, because we have local issues here. We have issues of just survival. The local city councils, they pass certain laws that affect people trying to survive. And so what I've been doing is I've been very active, go to city council meetings, go to city planning commission meetings. I'm just sort of inundated in the community where I feel I can be most effective, but it's still aligning with, brothers and sisters, when that call comes up, that they need somebody, to be there to support them for an issue or a cause. But it's focusing on youth. And you and I, when we were up in the Bay Area, we went and met with the youth in Watsonville, the young Brown Beret brothers and sisters, that chapter there in Watsonville. We reached out to them, it's like that. And like that, I meant I would like the youth here to get that consciousness that they had at that meeting that we went to at their school. And that's what we got to do. We got to. It's our youth, because they have the energy. I've seen so many people that were in the trenches with us that now, they're sitting back, and they've got theirs. And, I got mine too. I'm happy. I own a home, I got a job, but I'm out there in the streets because they ain't got theirs. And I want everybody to have a decent living. There's too many youth in prison, gangbang, drugs, and so it's been out there in the streets, and I'm sorry for going on and on, but it's what I do. It's a passion I have. Been doing it since the 60s. I'm in my 60s. So over here they call me the Energizer Bunny because I just go and go and go. So, but having connected with you in the Bay Area has been, a godsend. You light my fire, my brother. You light my fire, and I love you, brother. Thank you for being who you are.
Well, right back at you. You know that, comrade. Right back at you. Let's tell the audience a little bit about one of our experiences, so we can sort of fire them up. Back in it was 2006, wasn't it, Eddie?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, at the reunion of the Black Panther Party
yes, it was.
in Oakland, California, and Eddie and I were, of course, at the reunion in Oakland in 06. In October, as everyone may know, or people may or may not know, the Black Panther Party, we're talking about the real Black Panther Party, the original Black Panther Party, was founded in October of 1966. So this was the 45th reunion in 2006. And Eddie and I hooked up, went to Oakland to attend the reunion. But meanwhile, we also did a number of other things. Remember that, Eddie? We were going all over the city, not only Oakland, but San Francisco, and talking to the youth. All the way to Watsonville. Watsonville, folks, how would I describe Watsonville from geographically, brother, from the Bay Area, meaning Oakland, Berkeley, San Francisco, the Bay Area? Watsonville would be to the south, right?
It's southwest, right off the coast, and near UC Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
So you're looking at about maybe an hour and a half drive. Going southwest is pretty much a small, at one time farm community that has become very active with the youth there in that community.
Yeah, it was powerful. I always remember that, Eddie.
It was very powerful because the youth there, if you recall, and for all you youth that may be listening, anybody that's listening, the youth still today, their eyes light up when they see the passion that you have, when you can point out some hypocrisy, when you can point out their living circumstances that are unjust. And those youth, brother, when we're speaking to those youth, their eyes lit up, and that's what we need to do. Something else, brother, if I may talk a little bit about it, is part of our goal has always been to unite youth. Black, white, yellow, red, all youth, we need to unite and together fight the fight. Because what's happening is people are trying to create divisions, and it's just part of one of their strategies, like it's always been, to divide and conquer. And the youth need to know that. And as you know, you and I have always, tried to, I don't want to say right or wrong, but if I hear somebody that's Chicano say this about an Asian or a black, I say, you know what, hold on, because they're getting that from the media.
Right.
And they're getting that from music. And it's our duty to tell them, hold on, let me talk to you a little bit here. And sit down with them and just kind of give them, the real up and up, so to speak. And that's something that you and I have always tried to do together is build coalitions. I mean, back in, I think it was 67, and 6 black organizations and 6 Chicano organizations met in New Mexico. Black Panther Party was one of those organizations. You know, of course, the Brown Berets was one of those organizations as well. And they met and they created a treaty, you know. I can't remember the name, but it was a treaty of respect and support for one another. And,
Right.
you know, that helped the movement. But we need to reach across, you know, the aisle. Even us, you know, OGs, you know, us originals, we've got to do the same thing. You look at a brother, hey brother, how you doing, brother? Have a good one. You know, and you know, sister, you know, and that's important for our youth because, you know, we can do it a lot better united and not divided. And so, you know, it's just, you know, there's something else that I'm doing here when I'm with youth, and when I'm with adults too. And so, it's wonderful. Once people get caught up in it, you know, they're sitting back and they're watching it and they're supportive of it. But once they get out there, once they go to their first protest, you know, once they, you know, get on the internet and start, you know, tuning into this show, you know, digging deeper, reading some books, you know, so, you know, that's, we've got to keep going. The struggle continues, you know.
That's right.
And we at least us, and there's thousands more, and there's hundreds of thousands more that we're not going to give up. And, you know, it's just, it's a passion, and it's not appeal. It's not appeal because it comes from the heart. And that's what keeps us going up. And it's that consciousness that, you know, no matter what, we haven't left our love for all people and people who have been treated with so much injustice, and that's every race. You know, that's every race. You know, all colors. You know, have poor folk that do not deserve it. It's a damn shame that they're spending all this money for the what was that sort of movie or book about the king without his clothes or something like that? You know, that kind of reminds me of today. You know. You know,
the emperor wears no clothes, right?
There you go. And you know, he thinks he's looking sharp, but in reality, we really know what's going on. And so, but we just got to.
But nobody's saying anything. You know, we're as a whole, we're still silent, and that's. Sorry to interrupt you, Eddie. But
no.
You know, the emperor wears no clothes, and the thing about that was nobody spoke up, and everybody saw that he had no clothes, but nobody spoke up. And but my question, I have a question though, if you don't mind, related to what you're describing. Now, the divide and conquer, and you mentioned how the black groups came together with the brown groups in New Mexico. Now, were they at odds to begin with? Was there something, you know, or were they of the same mindset? Because I look at the left as it is today, and when they have conferences and everything, it's basically the same kind of groups. You know, there's really no difference. So they're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, well, just to sort of go back to your question, you know, in all organizations, but you know, organizations like the Black Panther Party, organizations like Students for Nonviolent, the Students of the Nonviolent Coordinating Council, you know, Brown Berets, Machistas, they all had infiltrators, and so they were, you know, putting out propaganda. You know, the Fed,
but were you sort of the same mindset? You know, infiltrators and COINTELPRO aside, you know, were like right now you have the anti-war groups and the progressive groups and you know whatever. They're of the same mindset. You can put them in basically the camp, the left camp, let's say, you know, and that's the division today. What I was wondering is when you folks, Larry and the Black Panthers, came together with the Chicanos and the Brown groups, were you at odds in some way? Were you against each other, like Republicans and Democrats are against each other today? You know, was there, or was it similar mindsets just coming together in that respect? And I'm not trying to minimize anything when I said just. So that's my question to Larry. Well, maybe you can.
I don't quite know if assuming I understand what you're saying. I mean, I don't think that I mean, again, I'm not sure I really understand what you're saying, so correct me if I'm not getting to the heart of the matter. But at odds, I mean...
Well, when you say come together, is like we've been talking about on our show for the past year, is this false left-right paradigm that keeps us divided, and a lot of it is this programming we get from the media, the television. You know, you've got the people on the right will tune in to Fox TV at night and Fox News and get their daily downloads of talking points and how to think, and then you got the left plugging into MSNBC and they get their daily downloads on what to say and what to think, and then you turn on C-SPAN in the morning, right? You turn on C-SPAN in the morning for the call-in show, and they give you three numbers: Democrat line, Republican line, and independent if you can get through. And basically, the people that call are just repeating what they the download they got the night before. On you see what I mean? And there's the division. And it's a tough one to try to break through.
But Bill, the point is that the division is there if we buy into the division, and people, and as far as what the La Raza Unida, the Brown Berets, Chinese Voice Party, the White Panther Party, the Black Panther Party, these organizations refuse to buy into the division that was constantly being put out there. We understood and emphasized that essentially people wanted the same things. Didn't matter about their pigmentation, their color, their gender. What mattered was that they had the same we were they, and they were we. Okay, and this is the point. That's why I immediately refer to the thing about at odds. We didn't buy into the thing of being at odds. That's the system thing. That's not our thing.
So things that would divide people, you know, things that would divide you all, you were able to transcend. You know, and what we have today is we've got this left-right divide that is just so strong. And like I say, there is daily 24/7 programming, you know, as to think it's the other side's fault for everything that's wrong, you know, and I believe that's our biggest problem, is this partisan loyalty that we have.
Excuse me, if I may just chime in. There's no leadership on the left, you know. There's no leadership for you know.
But is there? But you know, when there was leadership, you had Huey, you had Cesar Chavez, you had you had people that were leaders and who had the vision to see we're coming together because we know. Okay, so were you able to come together with the right? Is what I'm saying, because when you do come together, you realize this left-right crap is just that, and that. You know, if you take away your label, if you leave your blue jersey home and the other one leaves their red jersey home and you just come as is, and you talk, we have a heck of a lot more in common. And as long as we're divided, you're right. We ain't going to make it, man. You know, and so Larry and I, we talk about this on our show quite a bit, this phony left-right divide, and I believe that's what we have to transcend today. You know, and that's what I was trying to get at as far as back in your day. What did you have to transcend? You know, you had the race, you know, the black, white.
Let me chime in again. I think we had to be careful because don't forget, you know, in the 60s, the early 60s, when, you know, of course, I wasn't involved in the early 60s, you know, but like in the middle 60s, the early 60s, there were some teams with, you know, Cesar Chavez, beginning with the farm workers, but in the communities where the Black Panthers were strong, and they were strong in many communities, and where the Chicano communities were very strong, we realized that we needed to be united, or we were going to be divided, and we were there in some ways the most vulnerable. You know, we both had histories. You know, regardless of what white revolutionary group you belong, you could into and still we couldn't. You know, we knew that we were, you know, not going to let it happen to us. Weren't going to go for the crumbs. You know, we knew we had a big cause, and it can be done today. You know, every time that I think a brother, a Chicano, a brother, and a white American, an Asian. I mean, when they see us together and calling somebody on something, you know, that's especially if you do it in front of you, you know. But they're still trying to divide us. They're still, you know, these local politicians will, you know, send money over here, send money over there, and that's always going to be the case. But we've got to stand our ground, and you know, coming together, I think, was great. There's some local organizations that don't want to come together. In some ways, I feel like the left us out, and I constantly, you know, discuss that with my comrades. There are some good people, you know, on the left that are doing good work, but in some ways, again, they're not, you know, coming to the communities to ask what you want versus saying we think this is what you need, and that needs to be corrected. That really needs to be corrected. But go back to what kept us, or what was the division. We before it became a division, and I think that was the leadership. The leadership saw that they were going to put one against another, and they're still trying to do it today. And actually, they are doing it today in many communities. But we can't let it happen. And your show is a good show for the people to listen to, know that we can't let it happen, and it ain't going to happen on our watch.
Well, I believe, you know, the divide that we have to overcome, and this divide's been hundreds of years, you know, 100, 200 years running, you know, of building and solidifying, and it's this left-right, Democrat-Republican divide, and you ain't going to get a majority, you know. The people are always divided. Remember, Larry, months ago, a long time ago, I mentioned the Bankers Manifesto of 1892 or whatever the heck it was, and it, you know, it showed how the bankers were funding both parties and saying the Democrat Party were going to have say this, and the Republican Party were going to have say that, and then they go back and forth, and meanwhile the banks make out no matter which one ends up on top. And you know, that's what we're dealing with here, and it's I believe that's we had a chance with this Occupy thing, and the concern was, remember, Larry, November of 2011, we were on with Karen Tostado and Charles talking about the Occupy, your experience with it and mine, and our concern was, would it be co-opted by the left, you know, or was it truly 99%, you know, or 99% if you think our way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, let me just say that, first of all, the Democratic Party is in my opinion, not the left at all. That's just make-believe. The Democrats and the Republicans are essentially the same and controlled by the same entity, which is the example that you gave with the banks is an excellent example. The paradigm or model, the so-called left-right paradigm, is of course fraudulent. The people on Eddie, you remember the poem that I wrote a year ago? You may remember this too, Phil. But remember the poem, Eddie, that left's left? Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay. So what the poem actually meant was that left, meaning back in the day, in the 70s, 60s, and even prior, that was a different kind of left. It was a left that was open to trying to really pull all people together, irrespective of their perceived loyalties. Today, in this country, the so-called left and the so-called right are myths, are essentially myths. They always have been, but more so than ever before are they myths today. The left, the so-called left today, leadership, and I'm talking about the so-called leadership, not the rank and file people, but the leadership of the so-called left does not want its rank and file membership, I don't care what the party or organization may be, to talk to what? The rank and file membership of the so-called right. The leadership of the so-called right doesn't want that either. Because if people start communicating with each other and finding out what we have in common with each other, well, what happens to the leadership? They get booted out, don't they? They get booted out. So the Democrat and the Republican parties, that's why I call them Republicrats. That term actually started being used in the early 1900s, and that's what it meant. The Republicrats. And I think, as far as the Occupy movement is concerned, I don't want to speak of it in terms of the past tense. I mean, movements are dialectical. In other words, movements are constantly changing. Things are constantly happening with real serious political movements. We may not always see them. It may not always be obvious. But I don't think that the Occupy movement has been, by any means, been destroyed. It has metamorphosed it or has morphed into something else, but it will continue. The beauty of it is, as you may recall, Phil, we had some folks on the show, wasn't it from Oregon?
Yes.
Who were supposedly they were from the right wing. We had people from the supposedly who were from the left wing. Forget the damn wings. Put the damn wings down. Let's deal with the fuselage of the airplane, not the wings. We'll worry about the wings later. Let's deal with the people
what the common concern with those folks was the NDAA that was signed New Year's Eve, December 31, 2011, where we could be indefinitely detained on just the president's say-so. And you've been, right off the bat, Larry, you were writing about that. And see, they understood that, hey, man, this affects all of us,
Right.
And
right.
this is an attack on all of us, left and right, and we got to come together to take this on and agree to disagree with all these other things. You often say, Larry, if you find somebody that says they agree 100% with you, one of you is lying.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. That's true. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So these folks in Oregon, the Patriot Group, Tea Party, whatever you want to call them, there was some, and that's why I believe those of us who have woken up and been able to step back from this left-right paradigm. I think instead of saying the hell with this, I think it's important to stay in the groups. It's like when somebody in a poor neighborhood does well in business, then they move out to the suburbs instead of keeping the business in the neighborhood and help the neighborhood grow. I think we got to stay in our groups and be an example. And we have a great experience here in Daytona Beach with the Occupy Daytona Beach, and that whole thing in the park, where everybody camped out and all that. That was supposed to be temporary. It served its purpose. What it did was it got people that push away from their keyboards and actually go somewhere and see each other face to face. And what happened here in Daytona Beach, it started to break up into groups. Some folks started a little newspaper. The Food Not Bombs chapter started here in Daytona Beach, where the young folks are feeding the homeless. We got a foreclosure group because Florida's pretty bad on the foreclosures, and so folks would break up into groups. There's now a radio show that's, it might even be close to a year old, Occupy here in Daytona Beach every Tuesday. And what we're trying to do is, with the Veterans for Peace here, we've been trying to reach out to the right, as much as possible, Tea parties, the Oath Keepers, and we go to these things. We go to the Tea Party things just like we go to the Occupy things, and we be who we are. We be who we are, if that's the right English for that. You know what I'm saying? And we be real in each place, and nothing changes. Beverly from Missouri, and talk about a stacked deck. It's another friend here. We're not exactly related, but Beverly was the founder and coordinator of the Florida chapter military speak at, and she and I met in Washington, D.C. in September of 2005 when they had the big anti-war rally there, and we were lobbying Congress. And, here we are 8 years later, Beverly, and welcome to the show. Please say hi to Larry Pinkney and Eddie Perez.
Hi to Larry and to Eddie, and I've listened to you guys, and I'm so grateful that there are still big hearts and big minds like yours willing to do this work. I was there in the early and mid and late 60s. I worked in Washington, D.C. I was very involved in the peace movement back in those days, and it seems like I've been doing this work for half a century, and it's doggone close to that. What I guess breaks my heart is that we're not making much progress. I listened today to a rationalization for incarceration of people who might commit crimes in the future, and literally felt sick in my heart that I don't really think Americans get what that means. I cannot believe that my fellow citizens get that we have held for years people who've never had access to attorneys, a hearing, a public hearing, a trial. Most people don't even know who the people are who are in Guantanamo. And we are rationalizing that by saying these are people who might commit crimes. There are indicators who might commit crimes in the future. How that even remotely reflects what we call democracy, due process, protection of the law is obscene. And so as much as I honor the work of minorities in this country, and I do, and I've been part of your struggle since I was old enough to even know. I didn't know what I was doing when I went to some marches back in the 60s. I am appalled that the supposed majority of people in this country permit things like undeclared wars, continued incarceration of people without any protection of the laws. I mean, Bradley Manning is still sitting and waiting for something to happen. The vast majority of Americans don't even know who Bradley Manning is. And it seems, I am stricken by the fact that even with the vast improvements in communications over the last 30 or 40 years, we are still hearing what the paid media, what the corporate-owned media wants us to hear. How do we deal with that? What do we do about that? How do we stay in this struggle in a way that, don't give us an edge, just give us a fair chance?
Beverly?
This
Yes.
is great, bro.
Beverly, this is Eddie Perez calling from Southern California, out in
Yes,
San Diego. And, you made a comment about the media. I think we have to view the media as a weapon against us. And so we have to understand that, how we, it's basically, a bomb, and so we just have to understand that what comes out of the media, there's practically nothing you can trust, and so,
Right.
It's a reality. We don't control it. I think we got to call them on it whenever we have to. It takes work, a letter to the editor, to their boards. We still got to do what we got to do, even if we don't know if it's going to be heard or read, But and I think what we need to do is inform our youth that what they're seeing isn't for real. But it's unfortunate. It's a weapon they've got against us, and we've got our weapons too. We've got shows like this. We've got writers like Larry. We've got people like you out there. But one comment I wanted to make, because Jan alluded to it, and you as well, about peace, and God bless you for all your good work. But we got a saying out here: no justice, no peace. And I don't know. Pardon? No justice, no peace. And unfortunately, that's the reality.
Totally agree. I want to report an interesting incident earlier this week. I live in a really, really conservative part of southwest Missouri. Went to a town hall with our local congresswoman. There were some folks there who immediately, when I started asking questions, I could tell that they thought, well, we're not going to agree with anything she says. As it turned out, they are frustrated about some local issues that I felt I might be able to assist them in bringing those to public attention. And I gave them my number, and I said, look, you gotta stay in their faces. You gotta, if they won't answer your calls, and that was the objection, that this public official absolutely will not answer their calls. I said that we go to his office and sit on his doorstep. If he won't talk to us, then we park in his driveway.
No justice, no peace.
Exactly.
No, you're right. I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. We just can't let them off the hook. And reminding people constantly who it is that Congress, who it is that mayors, who it is that governors, who it is that the president works for. And I think in this country we've gotten to the place where we think we have to approach them with such deference because we act as if we work for them.
So you're all about what this station is about. This station about we cannot be silent. You are not silent. And I really, it's so good to talk to you tonight. To know that there's someone that isn't going to be silent. You're going to call them on it. You're going to keep on calling them on it, and that's what we need to do.
Absolutely, and forever.
And it sounds like you were helping. It sounds like you were teaching others how to do that, Beverly, and that's the thing. We've got to reach others. Like Eddie mentioned earlier, Larry's tagline on all his columns: each one teach one, each one reach one. I might have messed that up, but you get the idea. And part of it is, a big part of it is showing up.
Right.
And like Eddie said, no peace, no justice. And what you were saying, who these folks work for, power concedes nothing without a demand, as Frederick Douglass said. It never has and it never will. That means, like Eddie said earlier, we got to take it. We got it ain't going to be given to us. And I just want to also add, you're familiar with this group, Beverly. We Are Change. WeAreChange.org. And their slogan is, you want peace, demand justice. Want justice? Demand the truth. Want the truth? Ask questions and demand answers. And we've got to follow that all the way through. And it sounds, and so there's a group that truly is nonpartisan. They truly have stepped out of that left-right paradigm. WeAreChange.org. This fella Luke Radowski out of New York City, young fella, does a lot of good work on the YouTubes and confronting these politicians, and then you find out they're just human. He even confronted David Rockefeller. I mean, this guy's got a set of you-know-whats, and but I'm starting to babble there, and I'll shut up. Larry, did you have anything to offer Beverly?
Well, I mean, I guess all I have to say at this point is that, first of all, thanks, Beverly, for calling. Appreciate that. And to the whole listening audience, I think it's important to keep in mind, I believe it was Dave who had said it, that, you know what, if you want something, if we really want it, then we really have to take it. It's not going to be given to us. Why should it be? I mean, do you think that they're just going to sit back and, okay, guys, it's yours. You can have freedom and justice, and, the corporations won't run anything anymore. Now, I mean, come on, let's be real. We have to educate, organize, agitate. Educate, organize. We have to take it. It's not going to be given to us, and nor should it be, quite frankly. Things that are given to people tend to not appreciate it, not to understand the sacrifice and the suffering that it has gone in. That's what's happened to a great extent with this country as it is today. Okay, that's why we have, I'm trying to not to curse, but people like Barack Obama and his ilk, who have made a total mockery of anything called justice, anything called democracy, anything called the Constitution, anything, whether it's U.S. Constitution or international law. So I just want to emphasize that we must, I agree with what Dave said, his point about taking it. We got to take it. We got to come together, organize, and take what belongs to the people, because we are the people. There's an article that I would refer people to. I believe it came out last week in the Black Commentator. The name of the article is The Emperor's Gifts: Guantanamo, Drone Missiles, Afghanistan, and the NDAA. Again, it's entitled The Emperor's Gifts: Guantanamo, Drone Missiles, Afghanistan, and the NDAA. Check it out. Just go to blackcommentator.com. Or in fact, you don't even have to go to, just Google it, put the name of the article in, and it should come up.
Thank you so much. I'll let you guys go. I appreciate you so much, and
thank you, Beverly.
we're all in this together.
Keep the work up. Thank you, Beverly.
Good night.
About something that you wanted to bring up relating to Dr. King and dropping the ball. Why don't we go there now?
Yes, and it has to do with this info war we're in, and history being rewritten. You know, and those of us who know the history need to stand up and speak truth. You know, I have trouble with days like this, the Martin Luther King Day and Veterans Day and Memorial Day. As far as those 2 days, it's not because there was anything having to do with my military service. I was a peacetime veteran. I have no trauma or anything. But the fact that we're given these messages, you know, we're told how to think about it and what the story was. You take Veterans Day and Memorial Day, and it's all about glorifying the military, you know, and therefore if you don't support our guys, you're not, you know, if you don't support the wars, you're not supporting our guys, and how dare you? And I look at Dr. King. And we always get, you know, a time comes when silence is betrayal, but they conveniently leave off the second half of that statement, which was, and that time has come for us in relation to Vietnam. He was speaking out, he was talking about speaking out against this illegal, immoral war on Vietnam, but they conveniently leave that off. And they always go back to his "I have a dream" speech. You know? And it's all talk. It's all fluff. We're not. I don't believe that we picked up where Dr. King left off. I believe we all just dropped the ball. But I wanted to get your take on it, Larry and Eddie and maybe Dave. How do you see that?
Well, I don't think that we all dropped the ball by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, Eddie and I have been in this struggle for almost 50 years, and we're still struggling, and we haven't sold out.
Let me rephrase that. I'm sorry, Larry. I mean, as a whole, collectively, that's
okay.
what I meant.
Okay. I think that collectively, as a whole, what has happened is that the system has been tweaked, meaning in a negative sense. I think that this Orwellian kind of system that we are in now, which is why we have things like the NDAA and Obama's kill list, and the list goes on and on and on. These things didn't come about by osmosis. They were designed, they were planned, and Eddie Perez, our guest, was talking earlier this evening, and Eddie, you might want to comment on this later, but was speaking earlier about the consciousness. What has happened is the consciousness of everyday people, black, white, brown, red, yellow people, the consciousness has been sucked away. Now, we can get that consciousness back. We must get that consciousness back, the political, social consciousness. But so that's what's been dropped. That's what's been dropped. Dr. King, as you mentioned, Phil, you know, the media, you know, the corporate stream media always talks about the "I have a dream" speech. They act like the major speech of Dr. King's life, which is the speech where he was talking about we cannot be silent. They rarely ever refer to that on April 4th, 1967 speech, and they sure don't go into any details. But that's to be expected. That's what they do. That's to kill our consciousness. To kill our consciousness. It's up to us to give that consciousness back to the people every way we possibly can, in the faces of our oppressors. And yes, that's what they are. They are oppressors, and I don't give a damn what their color or their gender is. They are oppressors. Obama is an oppressor. He's a war criminal and a murderer. Okay, so I think that we need to come up with new and creative ways to raise the consciousness of the people. I want to approach this thing from the glass being half full rather than the glass being half empty. Okay, so that's what I have to say on that. But Eddie, what's your take on that, brother?
Well, I agree with everything you said, and feel your comments are well taken. Unfortunately, we thought we had leadership, and we didn't. Okay, and Martin Luther King was a leader, but there are many who supposedly followed him that basically many of us thought were leaders, but they gave up. They gave up the struggle, and they got their little piece of the crumbs, and then they're happy. And some of them are on TV, some of them are in universities, and but they betrayed us, and many of those that were in the trenches, they were really in the trenches, but what builds consciousness as well is this discussion. Larry's writing, your show, who we talk to, we're building that consciousness, because consciousness is just more than shaking somebody and waking them up. It transcends, and I believe that the more of us that are out there that are driving the point home, we're building it, and we may not see it in our lifetime, but it's going to happen. But one thing we do know is we are not going to give up. We are not going to betray to our last breath. And but it is what it is. We were betrayed. I know friends who were in the movement with me. I thought they were on the front lines. I thought they were watching my back. Now they're acquaintances. And you don't see them anymore. They might come out and talk about, hey, remember the Chicano movement? Remember we were assassin? The next day they meet with bankers. If they're meeting with bankers to help the community, that'd be different. But that isn't the reason. So we have not given up. Those that gave up, I write them off. You got to tell them like it is. Speak truth to power. But we just got to keep spreading this consciousness. We're doing it now. Every day we're doing it. Someone else is doing it. And if we can understand that we're not alone, we have a comrade throughout this world, definitely, in this country, that we may not see, we may not even know they exist, but they're out there. They're out there like the French underground was, and they may not see us. The man may not see us. The man knows a lot of us, especially of us on the phone, but we have not given up, and I just, I want to commend both of you for doing the work you're doing, because it also increases my consciousness, and I'm so very, very thankful for that.
Thanks, Eddie. And we are doing it, and I think, like you said, Eddie, there's probably more of us than we realize, and I think the key is and this is what attracted me to Larry Pinkney. I didn't know Larry until July of 2011 when I came across his article, "Is it time to impeach Barack Obama?" And he cited the same crimes that the left had been citing in their call for impeaching the Republican Bush. And what that showed me was this fella is a man of principle, and he didn't compromise his principle. And I think Dr. King, we can say the same thing about him. And I guess it's a minority of folk that can to their principles and not compromise. And I'm really disappointed, but now I'm coming to learn more and more, with the left not applying the same standard to the Democrat Obama as they did to the Republican, because once you apply the same standard, you take away a partisanship, and they've really hurt us there, and they can still change, but it's principle. It's principles. Staying true to principle no matter what, and that's attractive.
You're right.
That's attractive.
You're right. Yes. If I could say something, I just think it's so important. When we talk about the left has left us, the left, if there was a president, and there was one, and they were, going after, tooth and nail, doing similar things that Obama's doing, but they're not going after Obama.
Right.
They're attacking Bush, and now Obama has done more, and I'm within the Chicano community, I'm really upset because he's deported more people back to their countries in Mexico and South America than any other president. And so, again, where are the Latinos on the left? They're all bargaining for position. So, you're so right. The left has left us, and they would be down somebody else's throat, but they're giving Obama, they're giving him basically they're giving him what we call play. He's getting away with it. And it's, and that's a perfect example of why should we give the left, not the rank and file. The rank and file are listening to the leadership. But even the rank and file got to, own it too. Because they can't just...
Yes, there you right there, Eddie. What you just said. It starts with us. And we got to own it, just like you said, regardless of who does and who doesn't. And I'm sorry for interrupting, but man, I really think that's key. What you just said. And Larry often quotes Malcolm X when he said, "Right is right and wrong is wrong, no matter who does it." Right, Larry? That quote.
That's right. That's right. Of course.
And so. That left and right is secondary to staying true to principle, and I believe we just and somebody with courage, and you guys might have seen this back in the day with the movement. When somebody exhibits courage in front of you, and they do it. And they're successful at whatever they're doing, standing up and speaking out or not backing down. That allows others to take that additional step forward and be a little courageous themselves. So I think those of us who are able to speak out and not say no, not back down. We need to keep doing it, and like Beverly did. She showed up at that town hall, and those other folks that maybe are not used to standing up like Beverly is, she said she would help them. This is what you need to do. You need to camp out in front of this congressman's office or whatever.
What I wanted to make was that the idea of not being silent, the idea of speaking truth to power, is taken away from us at a very early age in school. The educational system is, and it always has been, corrupting, the minds of youth from kindergarten on up. You don't ask questions. This is what you do. This is your history. Believe it. You got it. That's just the way it is. In the 60s, what happened was we had some experiences where we questioned. This ain't our history. Which George Washington ain't our father. And the situation was, at that time, it is still bad, where we said no more. No, we said no more. And the situation is going to arise again, where youth and we're going to be around too, most likely, where we're going to say no more. But I just had to just point out that our education system is so corrupt. Again, you've got more, 7% of the inmates at California corrections are black and brown. 70%. And I tell you probably got about maybe 10% in the university system. And so this government, and for the listeners, I believe it's systemic. I really believe it's systemic. No jobs. Back in the day, they had these vocational trainings. People could become, I'm talking about working class people. They could become a welder. They could become a carpenter. They would have these vocational trainings. And what they have now are these ones where you're paying these loans for $10,000 and they can't even find you a job. They've taken away the vocational trainings. My brother went to a welding school. He became a good welder. He's not welding anymore. It got him on his feet. You don't see those in the neighborhoods, in the hood or the barrio or even in the city. You've got these sort of assistants, and there ain't no work. And the government is giving these loans to these companies that are out there on TV and they saying, you want a career in this, career in that. And it's just corrupt. But when I interact with youth, if they question me, I let them question me. I don't say don't talk back to me. And don't call me Mr. Perez. My name's Eddie. Your name's Bobby. I want to respect you, but again, the education system is so corrupt. I had to throw that in there. It's hard. What it has to do is re-educate or co-educate them. Let them learn how to read, write, and math, but it's parents' responsibility. It's my responsibility to make sure that our youth are being told the truth and it goes to something that Larry said earlier, excuse me for going on, but about many of the youth today, and Larry said something to the effect that if you haven't heard it, you just don't know what it's like to really not have it. And in the 60s, 70s, people fought and died, and today, people are entitled. I'm going to go to college now, when they don't know if there was a time that, working class people weren't in college, And so, again, they've taken so much for granted that they don't know what the experience is like. And so, but, if what goes up must come down. Being real got to go around. So it's going to come back. And, but we just, keep doing our best, spread that consciousness. And we also, for all the listeners, have fun. You gotta have that, as Larry and I call it, that gato negro, that sip of wine, that camaraderie with your friend, going to a club, whatever you do, because you can't just be so tunnel vision that you can't enjoy life yourself. And there's a lot to enjoy, but we've got to have some enjoyment ourselves because it keeps us going. We know this is a battle, and we're going to keep fighting it, but during the battle, we also got to take time for ourselves. And I encourage our listeners to take time for themselves.
I agree.
Going on and on.
I agree. And there's something to that camaraderie by getting active, Eddie. Larry knows that here in Daytona Beach, our Central Florida chapter of Veterans for Peace and the women from Code Pink and the We Are Change folks and anyone else who wants to come along and speak out against the war and expose the fraud of 9/11, which the war is based on. We've been out there every Thursday night since December of 2005, and what we do is we go to Steve's Diner afterwards, and eat, break bread, and laugh, and it's community. It's community, and then every now and then somebody will throw a cookout, and get out of the house and join up with something, and start interacting with other human beings. And there's a power in that. If you want to get religious, what is it? Whenever two or more are gathered, there's a power greater. But Larry, you got anything to add to that?
Well, I'm enjoying listening, quite frankly.
Do you have anything?
Yeah. Well, as I hope people will keep in mind to please go to blackcommentator.com. The name of my column is Keeping It Real. Again, blackcommentator.com, the Keeping It Real column every week. And Intrepid Report, that's intrepidreport.com. And I also obviously write a column for Intrepid. So please check out the articles, but most important, let's come together, let's fight this fight. It's a long struggle. Again, I want to thank Comrade Brother Eddie. I want to thank Dave. Dave, thank you so much. You truly, truly, truly are important. Thank you very, very much. And, of course, my co-host and brother, Phil, thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And if I could just say, my sign off here is I want to encourage people to call for impeachment of President Obama for war crimes, for the people to call for it. And what this does is it'll take away the partisanship. Veteransforpeace.org, veteransforpeace.org passed a resolution in 2011 calling for the impeachment of Barack Obama for the very same war crimes that were cited in the public call for impeachment for George Bush. And again, this is about the people making the call. That's what we're focusing on here. And once we can start applying the same standard and staying true to principle, I think we're going to see a big change, and the people are going to have a chance to regain their power.
I cannot be silent.
Nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. Everyone must play a part. Everyone got to go to work. Work for peace. Spirit said work.
I cannot be silent.